Kintzel, did you want to say anything or? I don't think so. All right. Thank you. Good morning for another 15 minutes. I am Mrs. Godinez, and I am the ELA teacher on the 7 White team. I know some of the Red and Blue team kids from being in my Dark Side course. Today I am here to talk to you because while I have taught the novel The Outsiders for the last 5 years, 4 years here at Shawnee Heights, what I like to call passion for the novel and the movie has grown over those years. Some students might say it's more of an obsession, but I prefer passion. So that's what I'm here to talk to you about today. This is a quote from S.E. Hinton. You still have a lot of time to make yourself be what you want. And for you guys at your age, that's so true. Well, really, it's true for all of us, even as adults. That no matter what you set your mind to, you can do it if you set your mind to it. And that's the message here when we start talking about S.E. Hinton and how old she was when she wrote this book. And oh. Maybe. How's that? Okay. So that's where everything started with The Outsiders. A very young lady from Tulsa, Oklahoma, started writing when she was your age and even younger. She wrote and she wrote and she wrote to practice, because just like anything else, just like basketball, football, violin, reading, anything, the more we practice, the better we're going to be. I mean, practice makes perfect is pretty worn out, but it's just so true. And so she would tell you that she practiced writing a lot. She lived in Tulsa, Oklahoma, where there were actually two social groups, the Socias and the Greasers, who clashed. And she was inspired when one of her friends, a greaser, was jumped, similarly to how Johnny and Ponyboy were. And so that's what inspired her to start writing The Outsiders. She was 15 when she started writing it, 17 when it got published in 1967. That's a pretty big deal. That's not that much older than you guys are right now. She set her mind to writing a novel, and she accomplished it and was very successful and wrote subsequent novels after that. When she got her sign-on check, she went out and she says she went and bought a Mustang at 17 years old, a brand new Mustang for herself. And so that would be a pretty big deal, I would say. So that's how everything started. And we're going to hear a little bit more from her a little later about her story. So the novel, published in 1967, became a very big deal, inspired the young adult realistic fiction genre, is credited with really getting that going, because when Essie Hinton went into the library to find something to read, because she loved to read, she didn't find anything that she could really relate to. Nothing that was really about her. And so she wrote a book. And lost my train of thought. Yes, thank you. Became very a very popular novel, published in 23 languages. Many middle schools and high schools studied The Outsiders. And in 1980, a librarian named Jo Ellen Misakian, a librarian at the Lone Star School in Fresno, California, wrote to a big-time movie director, Francis Ford Coppola. Big director, he directed The Godfathers, Dracula, Apocalypse Now, a lot of big, successful movies. She wrote to him on behalf of her 7th and 8th graders, asking him to read the book in the hopes that he would make a movie. And he did. I'm just going to read you this bottom little paragraph. Lone Star is a small school in Fresno County. We have a student body of 324 students. It is a kindergarten through 8th grade school. I feel our students are representative of the youth of America. Everyone who has read the book, regardless of ethnic or economical background, has enthusiastically endorsed this project. This plea comes from our 7th and 8th grade students. We feel certain that if you read the book, you will agree with us. Thank you for your time. And so he read the book, and he was very moved, and the rest is history. He created the movie. He was taken around to Tulsa to different locations and by Essie Hinton, and said, this is where we need to film this, in Tulsa, Oklahoma, where it was set, where it will be authentic. And so they shot the movie in various locations in Tulsa, which is just 4 hours down the road, not that far, and also a few locations in a couple of little towns around there. This house was in a poor neighborhood, just like the Greasers would have lived in, and this is the house you probably recognize from the movie. This was the Curtis brothers' house. This man is Danny O'Connor. His MC name is Danny Boy O'Connor, part of a musical group called House of Pain. Anybody ever heard of them? Yeah? This song, Jump Around, you've probably heard. That's probably their most popular. So he was on tour, and he was in Tulsa, and he too was very passionate about the Outsiders novel and movie, so he went to go check out the house. And it was in pretty poor shape. Nobody had really kept it up very well over the years, but he saw something there, and he was inspired. He said, I want to make this into something that other literature lovers like myself can appreciate. So he tracked down the owner and asked them how much they were willing to sell it for. $5,000, for the hefty price of $5,000. He got this property, which is pretty cheap for a house. However, it was pretty much gutted on the inside. So, in order to have the funds to be able to refurbish this house back to its original condition and recreate the Outsiders house and what it looked like in the movie and create a museum out of it, he asked all of his everyone, basically his celebrity friends, anyone who was willing to donate, to contribute to rebuilding the Outsiders house. The ribbon cutting occurred in 2019, and you might recognize Ponyboy there, C. Thomas Howell, and then Danny O'Connor, of course, and then Essie Hinton herself. This was the ribbon cutting ceremony in 2019. I saw on social media that they were doing this, and I really wanted to be a part of it. I really wanted to go, but the tickets were just a little steep and out of my price range. But that's okay. I got my opportunity soon that I'll tell you about. So there he is, Pony Boy, posing like the still shot from the movie. They're in the house. They have all these little kitties around the house, neighborhood kitties that they feed. It's fun walking around the outside of the outsider's house. They had pallets and pallets of kitty food. And I think it's just neat that they work that into their budget. And this very morning, actually, I had an 8th grader come down and talk to me. She had sent me an email over the break talking about how important the outside was to her and her experience and everything. And she had just gotten a brand new kitty that she named Soda Pop. So I shared that with C. Thomas Howell and got a message back, and I shared that with her, and she said that made my year. So that was a good moment. This is Rob Lowe and his son wearing the DX shirt. Here is mid-construction, Mr. O'Connor, and then there he is with S.E. Hinton. Okay, so back up a little bit before the ribbon cutting, before the museum was finished. Like I said, I've taught the novel my first few years of teaching. And then Thanksgiving break of 2018, my husband and I had been down in Oklahoma City celebrating Thanksgiving with my grandmother. And on our way back home to Lawrence, we stopped in Tulsa to have lunch. And we were talking, and we said, hey, the movie was made here in Tulsa. I wonder if we could go find the house. And so, like anything else, we Google mapped it, and it showed up as the outsider's house. So 10 minutes later, we followed the directions, and it led us to this neighborhood that was just a regular, poor neighborhood, and there stood the house. And so my geeking out began, as you can see on my face. That's the very fence that Patrick Swayze did a handstand on before the Rumble. This is where the obsession kind of all got started. The house is on the corner of, they've renamed the streets, Curtis Brothers Lane and the Outsider's Way. And so, of course, that was very neat. These street signs are different color than the other street signs. And that was pretty much the only thing that set this house apart from any other house in the neighborhood. Except that the house across the street was in really bad shape. It looked like there had been a fire. So, I mean, this is a really poor neighborhood, still is. This is Domino on security patrol, checking us, making sure that we had clearance to be on the property. I have told my students that Francis Ford Coppola's daughter, Sofia Coppola, was in the movie, and she played the little girl. And in the credits, the little girl who walks up to the car asking for change, in the credits, you will see her name as Domino. We did a little research, Mrs. Kintzel did, and apparently she just chose that name as a child actor because she thought it was glamorous, correct? So I think this is an homage to her, having the kitty named Domino. And then they have Spot, the Outsider's House mascot. He's kind of made his way into his image has made it into their other merchandise. How many of you kiss your dogs? Those are the ones who are willing to admit it, okay? No judgment here, no judgment here. But there is Spot kissing Danny Boy. Yeah, I'd have to really love a dog to let them get that close to my mouth. Okay, and then less than a year later, 2019, so at that visit, all we got to do was see the outside of the house. I did walk up to the house and try to look in and see anything, but I couldn't, just the building permit. But then I was part of a friends group on Facebook called Friends of 731 North St. Louis Avenue, I think it is, which is the address of the Outsiders House Museum. And so that's how I kind of knew about these things that were happening there. And they announced that they were going to be showing the movie on the lawn of the Outsiders House. And they were selling tickets. And that was a ticket I could afford rather than the ribbon cutting. So I said, now we are going to watch the movie in the Outsiders House lawn. And so, not last school year, but the school year before, we were here for professional development, and before school started, and all I could talk about to anyone who would listen was what my plans were for that weekend, which was to go to the Outsiders House to watch the movie on the lawn. And so, the movie was not until the evening, and we had come an hour early to check out the museum. So we had the whole day. And so what we did was we sought out the other various filming locations for the movie. This is the DX station that was used in the movie. You can see Steve there, and Soda Pop, and Dally. Gasoline, 36 cents a gallon. We only wish. This is actually in a tiny town called Sperry, Oklahoma. That's northwest of Tulsa a little bit. And so we went to go check it out, and this is what it looked like when we went to visit. They had torn up the dirt roads. That tells you how small of a town it was. But they were so it was kind of hard to get to, but they were in the process of refurbishing it to make it look the way that it did in the movie. So they're still in the process. I'm really hoping that they'll show the movie again this summer so we can go and get some updated pictures of what the DX gas station looks like. But I know that they've been working on it and trying to get authentic gas pumps with the DX logo and everything. So that's something that I also can keep up with on social media. This is Will Rogers High School. This is where Essie Hinton went to school when she was writing the book. Will Rogers is mentioned in the book by Ponyboy. He was kind of a cowboy actor. Hence the mascot, Home of the Ropers. So this is where, like I said, Essie Hinton went to high school. Also, there was a scene towards the end of the movie shot in front of here. You might remember Ponyboy running into Cherry there and her snubbing him like she said she would. And then over here is about where he had a conversation with Mr. Syme about his poor English grade. There I am again geeking out in front of Will Rogers High School. So this is a shot from the movie. You see Ponyboy right there, the cigarette hanging out of his mouth. Don't smoke. That's my public service announcement. At the Circle Cinema, this is what it looked like when we visited. Very well kept up. Movie posters out here, meaning that they are still showing movies there. And they had this quote on the marquee, "Stay gold, Ponyboy, stay gold." Which, of course, I flipped out over. I think that that's really cool that people driving through Tulsa can make that connection with the novel, to have that quote up there. So that's the Circle Cinema. There I am. I really wanted to go across the street to take my picture, but my husband wouldn't let me. Dodge traffic. Here's the Admiral Twin Drive-In. Here is the superimposed. This is from the movie. And then this is what it looked like when we visited. The movies they were showing were a little bit different than what they had originally. Angry Birds 2, Spider-Man, Lion King, Toy Story 4. This summer, right before school started, I mean the weekend before school started, they were showing The Outsiders at this drive-in, and I wanted to go so bad, but I couldn't because I had to get ready for school and just didn't feel like I could take the time. But surely they will play it again. This is a scene with Two-Bit and Ponyboy in front of this elaborate church. There's the church. Looks like they're doing some work on it. So about this time was when my husband Brian was a little like, oh, okay, we've seen enough locations. We need to go rest up for the Outsiders House Museum. And so that's what we did. On our way to the Outsiders House Museum, this is the vacant lot where they run away, where the big rumble happens. And it looks pretty much the same. And just to give you some perspective, the Outsiders House would be kind of catty corner on the same block over here to the vacant lot. Johnny's house, there it is in the movie. We couldn't find anything to tell us where Johnny's house was, but we were driving around and I saw this house and I said, that is Johnny's house. I know it is. So I took this picture through my windshield and then later found out that this was Johnny's house. And there are people living there. I mean, it's a regular neighborhood now. The park, Crutchfield Park, doesn't have the playground equipment anymore, but I hear talk of them, or the fountain, but I hear talk of them trying to find that kind of stuff so that they can kind of make, a landmark call back to the movie. So this is what it looked like. We didn't really get out of the car for this one, I don't think. Pretty much looks the same, except now they just have a big picnic building in the middle of it. Now, the abandoned church outside of Windricksville, I did not get to see because it is now underwater in a man-made lake. So it's a pile of rubble where I'm sure it's a cozy little home for many little fish and probably a pretty good fishing spot. But it's underwater and we didn't get to see it. And finally, we got to go to the house and see the museum. This is the same poster that I have in my classroom, so that's me really geeking out about it. They set up the living room. This is the chair where Derry was waiting up for Ponyboy. These pictures are really embarrassing, I have to say, how badly I am geeking out and fangirling. I've even got my little copy in my hand, ready to be signed. The living room, they had so many actual pieces of wardrobe. This is a shirt that Rob Lowe wore. Here's an autographed picture of Ralph Macchio, Johnny. And they just collected so much memorabilia. They have a lot of DX stuff. There's a copy of Gone with the Wind, looks like signed by Ralph Macchio, Johnny. There are several first editions. So if you had a hardback version of the book, that red with the black figures, that was the original cover of the book. And there have been many, many covers over the years, many different ones. But that's the original. The infamous bathroom. The director's chair for Francis Ford Coppola. Film can. Yep. You can see how far back the Converse date. They even actually used to play basketball in the high-top Converse, which didn't provide much support, so technology has come a long way in basketball shoes. This is the kitchen. I mean, it just felt like you were walking right into the movie. In the dinner table scene where all of the Curtis brothers are sitting around, I noticed a glass with a similar design as this, but it said Colorado. And so when I saw this, I saw that it must have been the only one they could find that said Kansas, but I thought it was, a neat shout out to their neighbor on the north side, Kansas. Of course, they had some chocolate cake in the refrigerator. Always got to have one around, right? And the chocolate cake and Budweiser, 2 Bits Breakfast of Champions. That's not real cake, by the way. It's a plastic one. So a lot of people take the opportunity to grab the chocolate cake and a bottle and go sit in front of the TV and recreate the scene with 2 Bit. sitting in front of the TV watching Mickey Mouse with his healthy breakfast. And there were a lot of still shots from the movie around the house. This is the fictitious newspaper where Ponyboy learned about them having to go to court. The headline, "Delinquent Youths Turn Heroes After Daring Fire Rescue," has all their pictures. And then this is a wall that they have many of the people who had anything to do with the movie sign the wall. You see C. Thomas Howell, Ralph Macchio. I'm not sure who that is, but there he is, signing the wall. There's Rob Lowe signing the wall. There's a couple of Two Bits t-shirts, some of their photos. Here is the storyboard for the movie, where they will sketch out each scene and what it is to look like, one of the original storyboards. So that's really neat to see. Again, lots of wardrobe pieces. There's Steve's outfit. Cherry Valance's skirt. The actress who played Cherry Valance, Diane Lane, very famous actress now. This movie really set into motion many of these actors' careers. It's her Letterman sweater. Lots of wardrobe pieces. Here's the police officer's uniform that pulled over Dally and Ponyboy on their way to see Johnny in the hospital. There they are in the makeup chair getting their makeup done. You can see Ponyboy over there getting all made up after the rumble. There's Ponyboy's desk. And I imagine this is not the original notebook that he wrote in, but, they just set the stage to make it look as original to the movie as they could. Maybe that's a picture of the horse, Mickey Mouse. I don't know. And of course, you're going to have family photos all over your house, right? So they took pictures, acting squirrely there, probably more carefree times before maybe their mom and dad died. They had actors play their mom and dad, and they took photos. And there was a really cute baby picture of C. Thomas Howell in the house that I got a picture of, but it's really blurry, and I must have been in a hurry. I'll have to get that on the next visit. Copy of Gone with the Wind. Hubcaps. We know that some of the greasers like to lift hubcaps. And I guess if you don't have a car to put them on, the next best thing is to hang them on your wall. A sketch of the Circle Cinema. Ponyboy reading Johnny's letter. There's lots of fan art throughout the house. This is a painting of S.E. Hinton I thought was really neat. And then a sign poster over here. We saw the same sunset. Ponyboy's hoodie, not in great shape. I'm curious where all this stuff was kept and who kept it, You think? Maybe. Another jean jacket. This is a really cool sketch of Dally. There's his leather jacket that pretty much saved Ponyboy's life. The DX shirt for Soda Pop and hat. Here's an on-set picture of this hairy guy right here as the director, Francis Ford Coppola, directing the guys. There's a knife from the movie, an original script signed by S.E. Hinton and many of the actors. This big painting was in the women's restroom of all places. I'm assuming it's because they had the biggest wall space there. And this is our point of view watching the movie on the lawn. was only sitting about 3 feet away from Danny O'Connor, and so I was kind of nerding out about that. But you know, you got to play it cool. And then there's my husband Brian with me. He can never make a normal face during a picture. He refuses to, so he's kind of looking goofy there, but he humors me. And there I am with Danny O'Connor. He's a little taller than me, but I got him to sign my book. This is my 50th anniversary edition of The Outsiders that my husband got me for Christmas a couple of years ago. It's got really neat extra material in the back, including pictures, a letter from S.E. Hinton, pictures of all of the different covers of the book, also letters from the actors, newspaper articles. It's pretty cool. I don't read this copy. It just stays on the shelf. And the librarians were nice enough to make it nice and protected for me. And that's a wrap. That was us leaving the Outsiders' house, which we had to do eventually. But it was a great experience. They have there on site quite a bit of merchandise, and I have probably not half a dozen, but not quite a dozen Outsiders t-shirts that I've gotten there. And my husband has a really neat one with the pocket knife on the back that says, "Who you calling bums, pal?" I couldn't get that one because obviously I couldn't wear it to school. But these patches were something that I started with getting the Stay Gold one in the middle, and then they just kept making new ones for all of the main characters. So of course I had to get them as they came out. And then it ended up costing more to have them framed than I spent on the patches, but that's okay. And then you got the Converse logo up there. And we saw the same sunset patch down there. That's kind of a slogan for the Outsiders House Museum. So I'm kind of building my own collection. And this is just a shot of a sunset over the middle school one night when I was leaving, and it just really made me think of the Outsiders, even though it was a sunrise that Johnny and Ponyboy were looking at when they were inspired by the poem. And I just have to share that S.E. Hinton herself has retweeted a couple of my tweets. This one, we were sitting on the rooftop of our hotel. I've got my Will Rogers Roper's t-shirt on there before we went to go see the movie this summer. Maybe the two different worlds we lived in weren't so different. We saw the same sunset, and she retweeted that. And then I was just watching Jeopardy one day, and The Outsiders was in a question, so I tweeted about that, and she retweeted that. And then this one she actually commented on. My high school, it's almost that time of year again. Sharing The Outsiders by S.E. Hinton with my students is going to be so different this year that I'll do my best to teach the enduring message that we all need more than ever from a timeless novel and film. Hashtag stay gold, hashtag things are rough all over. Pretty true right now. And so, C. Thomas Howell, with some of his other friends, decided to create, during COVID, some masks with some outsiders. The Can't Go Outsiders, Stay Tough. Nurse Hinton says, stay safe and stay gold. Anyway, I was looking at his website, staygoldmerch.com, and they were a little pricey, and it asked for a coupon code, and so I thought, what would it hurt if I follow C. Thomas Howell on Instagram, what would it hurt if I sent him a message asking for a coupon code? Because I had seen him put posts up of him actually stuffing envelopes to mail, so I thought maybe he's kind of hands-on with this business. He's a very big horse guy. He is a team roper, and he posts a lot of stuff about his horse. And so I sent him a message, and never expected to hear back from him, but I did. And I was asking him for coupon codes, and he said he would send me some masks. I still haven't gotten those masks, but that's okay. Not even the one that I finally just ordered and paid for, but that's okay too. I'm sure I will eventually. So that's how that kind of came about. And then we ordered a cameo. Mr. Urick was kind enough to let the ELA department order a cameo from C. Thomas Howell to send a message to our students that we thought would be really cool this year to do. And I created the account under my name, and he recognized, when he went to fill the order, they have 7 days to do it, recognized my name, and from Instagram, sent me a message on Instagram saying, "Why did you order a cameo? You know that I would do it for free." And he said, "I don't want anybody's money." And so that's why we got the video that was personalized to Shawnee Heights Middle School Thunderbirds. So I've got a video I'd like to show you.
Oh my gosh, is this the Shawnee Heights 7th grade?
I'm Essie Hinton, but you can call me Susie. I'm here at the Admiral Twin Drive-In. This is a theater where I went often as a kid, and when I was writing The Outsiders, I used this location for an incident in the book.
Bring me a coat! I don't have enough money.
This is the area where we set up with chairs like it was in my day when I was a teenager. Usually the kids that sat in front of the concession stand were the kids that walked in and paid a quarter. So you normally didn't see girls like Cherry and Marcia sitting out here. But I was out here one evening and I saw girls having a fight with their boyfriends, get out of their car and sit over in the chairs in kind of a mad huff. And that inspired the incident that I later wrote into the book, and then later we shot here at the movies.
You sure you want to do this? I came here to see a movie, and I'm going to see a movie.
Diane was absolutely picture perfect for Cherry. She and Matt had this funny little flirtation, irritation thing going with each other, very much like Dallas and Cherry Valance did in the book.
I didn't know you had this problem with yelling in my face.
The night we shot here was freezing cold, and when Tommy says, "Man, I'm freezing," he really meant it.
Why didn't you bring a coat, stupid?
Got it. One of the funny incidents that happened that night, when Dallas falls out of his chair trying to put the make on Cherry, wasn't supposed to happen. That was not rehearsed. In fact, if you look, you can see Tommy Howell look at Francis, expecting him to say "cut," while they all laughed. But Matt climbed up like the trooper and went on with the shot.
Huh?
I said you're a clown.
Shut up. Every once in a while it still plays at this theater, and you can see from the highway. And one time I was driving down the highway and I looked over and there was The Outsiders playing, and it was the drive-in scene, and that was a layer on layer on layer of weird. Here we are at Will Rogers High School. This is where I went to high school. This is where I first became extremely aware of all the groups, the socias and the greasers. I wrote The Outsiders while I was a junior here. I wrote it for a lot of reasons. The first was I just liked to write. I loved to read, and I wrote it because I was mad about the social situation of everybody getting into their little groups and staying in their little groups and not having friends outside their groups. So I took this two extremes to write about the greasers and the socias. When I was in high school, I saw a lot of rough things going on. There was none of this in the literature at that time. So The Outsiders is usually credited with starting the trend toward realistic young adult fiction. My job in The Outsiders, the film, well, I was greaser den mother. The boys were here with no adult supervision, and so I tried to look after them. Francis would ask me to look over the dialogue and cut it as needed. And it was really fascinating because he took the book and he outlined the thought in one color, the action in one color, and the dialogue in one color, and kind of just chopped the book up into pieces like that. And from there wrote the screenplay. There's very little I didn't do on The Outsiders, including getting a little part where I played the nurse that was being hassled by Dallas, which by then, being hassled by Matt was so comfortable.
What's happened to your gown?
I threw it away.
I'm going to be so
Get
glad
out.
when
Just
you're
get
out.
out. You're making my stomach sick.
Francis came here, and while he was here, he said, well, would you drive me around and show me places that you were thinking about when you wrote the book? So I took him to the Admiral Twin Drive-In and my high school, Will Rogers High School, and neighborhoods like I was thinking about. And he said, this is great. I'll shoot here. We're here at the Curtis house. This is where the Curtis brothers lived in the movie. One day, Francis said, Susie, we found the Curtis house. Do you want to see it? And I said, sure. He said, well, I'll take you there on my bike. And I thought he meant a motorcycle. But we get out there, and he had a big old fat-tired bicycle, which he put 60 pounds of camera equipment in the basket, got me on the bar, and pedaled me over to this house. And of course, we were falling all over the place, but it was a fun ride, and that was my introduction to the house. It was here that we introduced the characters one by one. And I think this opening gives us a lot more background about who these people are and what happens later at the drive-in.
Hey, who's looking for police trouble, man? I just want to go see a movie like the good old days, right, Johnny?
The boys were so much fun. They really had a good bonding experience.
They ain't gonna hurt you no more.
Soda and Pony were very close in the book, and actually the actors, Rob and Tommy, were very close during the movie shoot, too. And Patrick got into bossing them around, and they got a little resentful of that, just like in the book.
Concentrate on something else just once in a while.
One of the fun scenes shot from this house was the night of the Rumble, when the boys were doing acrobatics and jumping around. Tom Cruise was determined to do his acrobatic stunt. He and Patrick had been practicing. But the night of the shoot, Tom came to me and said, Susie, I really ate too much at lunch, and I don't feel well, and I don't think I'm going to be able to do this. And I said, well, Tom, would you feel better if you threw up? And he said, I think I would. So I took him over to the catering truck and made him drink raw eggs until he threw up. And then he felt much better and did the stunt perfectly. We all knew he was going to be a star. He really got into it, took the cap off his tooth.
Makes you look kind of tough.
Beefed himself up and really got into the fights.
What do you mean none of my business? It is my business. Look at my nose.
This is the street where Dallas died, where he was shot down by the policeman.
Action. Freeze!
That was a rough night shoot because Matt had the little gunshot squibs taped to his bare skin since he left the hospital with just a jacket on. And when those squibs went off, it hurt. I think Matt did a great job as Dallas. I actually recommended him to Francis. Matt and I had worked together on my movie Tex, and I was very impressed with his acting ability. He really has that little swagger that Dallas was supposed to have. It's just been amazing to me how this book keeps speaking to each new generation, because now parents are giving their children the book and saying, I really liked this when I was a kid, I bet you will too.
Find out how long the Shawnee Heights District has been reading the novel. All right, and we are going to end. I know that many of you have already seen it.
Oh my gosh, is this the Shawnee Heights 7th grade red, white, and blue teams? My name is C. Thomas Howell, a.k.a. Ponyboy. That's right. When I was a wee lad, I played the character Ponyboy in The Outsiders, and I'm here to say hello to y'all, because a very special friend of mine is a teacher there, but we'll keep that a secret for now. Anyway, I've been informed that you're a big fan of the book and of the film, and I gotta tell you, so am I, really. I mean, S.E. Hinton's one of my dearest friends, and the fact that she wrote that thing when she was 17 years old blows my mind. I mean, to have the insight and the wisdom and the dedication, the discipline to not only begin something like that, but follow through with it and create something like The Outsiders, iconic literature. A young girl from Tulsa, Oklahoma, who never thought that she couldn't do it. It's a big lesson there. Because we hold ourselves back. We're the ones that are constantly telling ourselves that we can never achieve what we would like to achieve. We can never complete a goal or a dream or succeed on that level. And the same thing happened to me at a very young age. The thought of not being an actor was never in my mind. I just knew at a young age I was going to do that and was able to manifest it. A lot of that comes with being very specific with your vision and taking those steps towards achieving those goals every day. And don't let anybody tell you you can't do something. So before I go, I think it's imperative that we recite the Robert Frost poem together, Nothing Gold Can Stay. Okay? I know y'all know it by heart. And if you don't, you better open that book up real quick. Okay, here we go. On 3. 1, 2, 3. Nature's first green is gold. Her heart is you to hold. Her early leaves a flower, but only so an hour. Then leaf subsides to leaf. Nature sank to grief. When dawn goes down to day, nothing gold can stay. The meanings and the definitions behind those phrases and wordings have changed for me over the years. That's the beauty of that poem. Well, I am certainly grateful for this moment. I just wanted to say hello to all you Thunderbirds, and I wish you all a very Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and a Happy New Year. Stay gold from me, Pony Boy.